12 News is your local election headquarters. Tonight, live, the 2022 Rhode Island Congressional Primary Debate.
Live from our 12 News studios, a Democratic primary debate for Rhode Island's 2nd Congressional District. Hello everyone, I'm Tim White. Welcome to this hour-long commercial-free debate where we will go in depth with 4 Democrats looking to replace retiring Congressman Jim Langevin. Each candidate will have an opportunity to give a 1-minute closing statement at the end of this debate. And the candidates are, from left to right on your screen. First, Joy Fox. Ms. Fox, a longtime communications professional who previously worked for Congressman Langevin and then Governor Gina Raimondo. She currently leads the Clarendon Group, a consulting firm. Next, Seth Magaziner. Mr. Magaziner is Rhode Island's general treasurer. He was elected in 2014 and re-elected in 2018. He was previously an educator for Teach for America and later worked at an investment firm. Next, Sarah Morgenthau. Ms. Morgenthau worked at the Department of Commerce under President Biden and at the Department of Homeland Security under President Obama. She also served on Rhode Island's Homeland Security Advisory Board. And finally, David Siegel. Mr. Siegel previously served as a state representative and before that as a Providence City councilman. He founded the advocacy group Demand Progress. This is Mr. Siegel's second run for Congress. I will be moderating this debate along with my colleague, 12 News politics editor Ted Nesi. Now, candidates, as you know, there is no strict format to this debate. We're looking for an open and honest discussion of the issues. We will allow and, of course, encourage some back and forth between all of you. But if you're taking too long or not answering the questions, we will jump in. We want to start with something right out of the headlines this week that has divided Democrats. President Biden announced he would wipe out $10,000 in student loan debt, depending on income level, or up to $20,000 for those who received a Pell Grant. Some say this measure did not go far enough to address students crippled with debt. Others say it was too much and a costly giveaway that will only make inflation worse. Mr. Siegel, where do you stand?
I absolutely support what the president did, and I would go even a bit further. I think that the people in question did the right thing, tried to get an education to improve themselves and to benefit our society as a whole. It helps us as a society. If we have people who are educated, it makes it better for us, easier for us to compete on the world stage. And I think that we're talking about people like nurses, we're talking about people like educators who've been saddled with debt in a way that hurts them, hurts their families, hurts their communities, and relieving them from that is going to have extraordinary dividends for them and for society more broadly over the course of years to come.
You said you'd go even further. What do you mean?
I would go, I've said that I would go at least to $50,000 for most people, in line with Elizabeth Warren's plan.
Do you have any concern at all that that would ratchet up an already crushing inflation that this country is facing?
Yeah, one, we're restarting payments in parallel with what's happening now or shortly thereafter. So people are going to have less debt, but they're also going to be paying payments again for the first time in several years. And this amounts to a fraction of a percentage of total spending in this country, and the people who would be relieved from this debt are some of the people most in need of increased spending power.
Mr. Magaziner, Mr. Siegel agrees with the plan but says it didn't go far enough. Is he wrong?
Well, first of all, Tim and Ted, thank you for having us tonight, and thank you to the viewers at home for watching and for caring about our democracy. This is a vitally important race. So many important issues on the ballot: lower costs, protecting Roe v. Wade, and the like. And yes, improving public education and making education at all levels more affordable. We need to make education more affordable in all forms. We need to lower the cost of college. We need to lower the cost of vocational and apprenticeships, vocational training and apprenticeships for those who aren't going to college. As far as student loan reform, I would have tackled it in a different way. The way I would have gone after it is lowering interest rates. In most cases, the federal government is the lender for student loans, and it is not right that the federal government is making a profit off of people's student loans. So the way I would have approached it is by tackling interest rates, which would have helped people save a lot of money on their monthly payments once they restart, and also what I think righted a wrong, which is that the federal government shouldn't be making a profit off of
So you
loans.
disagree with the president that in relieving $10,000 in student loan debt?
Well, listen,
that was the wrong call.
I think that the president gets credit for keeping his commitments. He did commit that he would do this, and he delivered on it, as he's delivered on many other things that he promised to do. But the way I would have handled it would have been to focus on lowering rates because I don't think that the federal government should be making a profit off of people's student loans.
Again, I want to be clear, though. You're saying lowering rates instead of, in lieu of the $10,000. Is that right?
When I get to Congress, that is what I am going to focus on, lowering rates and also making education, college education and vocational training more affordable for everyone.
Ms. Fox?
The bottom line here is college is still too expensive. So I believe the move that the president made today is a good step in the right direction. I was particularly pleased to see the support of students who are receiving Pell Grants and what can happen there. But there is more we have to do to make education affordable throughout the lifespan. We need universal pre-K in this country. Like I just said, we need to continue to strengthen the Pell Grant, and we need to make sure that workforce development and job training programs are also more easily paid for. I'm probably one of the only people up here whose college choice was based on affordability. I went to Rhode Island College and put together scholarships, worked through school, and because of that, and because Rhode Island College was affordable, I graduated without debt, which is, I realize, the exception, not the rule. So we need to do more to make college more affordable for everyone.
Before I go to Ms. Morgenthau, do you think that, do you agree with Mr. Siegel then, considering debt and student debt, that the relief should have been greater? He suggested $50,000.
I think we're at a good starting point, but there's more that has to be done, yes.
Ms. Morgenthau?
I think education is the most important thing that we can do in our country for our children, for our young people. This is the thing that we need to make sure that we are the greatest country in the world. I am pleased that the president made this decision to do loan forgiveness. I think it is an important start. It will allow people to get their feet back on and get some easy give backs, and it will allow them to then put that money into the economy, get good jobs, which I think is enormously important in these hard times when things are really costing too much. So this was a necessary thing and a necessary investment in our education, in our young people, and ultimately will put money back into the economy, which I think is a good thing.
Same follow-up question to you that I had for Mr. Siegel. Jason Furman, who's an Obama-era economic advisor, called it a reckless idea by the president that will add a, quote, $500 billion of gasoline on the inflationary fire that is already burning. Are you worried about that?
No, I disagree with my friend Jason Furman on that. I think that this is really important. We need to provide this relief for people whose education costs are soaring. Everything is too expensive right now. Gas is too expensive. Groceries are too expensive. Housing is too expensive. And education is too expensive. And this will put money back into the economy, which I think is a good thing.
All right.
This election, as you all know, has been upended by the Supreme Court decision overturning Roe v. Wade, so I want to ask all of you about federal abortion policy. Earlier this month, a bipartisan group of senators, including your party's 2016 vice presidential nominee, introduced a bill called the Reproductive Freedom for All Act. The sponsors say it would restore the status quo by allowing elective abortions up to fetal viability, then allowing abortions post-viability if needed to protect the life and health of a pregnant woman. Ms. Fox, would you vote for or against the Reproductive Freedom for All Act?
I would vote for it. I believe in a woman's right to choose, and I believe now, given the actions of the Supreme Court, it is up to Congress to protect a woman's right to choose in law. This is about healthcare. This is about a woman being able to make her own healthcare decisions. This is also about privacy. Privacy is under threat here. And we've heard from the likely Republican opponent in this race, Alan Fung, that he would leave it up to states. We are already seeing that state-by-state action on this issue is absolutely disastrous and life-threatening. It should not matter where you live or how much money you have and whether or not you can access the reproductive services that you need to get.
Some of the pro-choice groups have pushed back against this bill, saying they only want to look at the Women's Health Protection Act. They say this doesn't go far enough. You think this is a step that is worth taking?
Yes.
All right, I'll put the same question to Mr. Magaziner. Would you vote for or against the Reproductive Freedom for All Act?
Women deserve the right to make their own healthcare decisions and not have those decisions be made by politicians in Washington, D.C. I fought 3 years ago alongside so many people to codify the protections of Roe v. Wade into state law in Rhode Island. But now, if Alan Fung and Kevin McCarthy and the Republicans take control of Congress, we know that the Republicans in Congress are going to try to pass a national abortion ban that would override the state-level protections that so many of us fought for. So choice is on the ballot this year. And we need to do what we did in Rhode Island, which is codify the protections of Roe v. Wade into federal law. That is going to be a high priority for me as Rhode Island's next member of Congress. We have to protect the right of women to make their own decisions.
Do you think those states should have the right to place restrictions on elective abortions after viability?
I think that we should have the exact same framework that was in place for 49 years under Roe v. Wade. The protections that were available under Roe v. Wade guided policymaking at the state level for 49 years. Those protections were ripped away by a far-right Supreme Court that Donald Trump and the far-right Republicans in Washington installed to turn back the clock. So what I support doing at the federal level in Congress is codifying the same protections that were in place under Roe v. Wade for 49 years.
We'll continue online.
This
Ms.
this is a deeply personal issue for women, and all the more reason why we need to send the first Democratic woman to Congress from Rhode Island to fight for these
Well, let me bring in another woman on the stage, Ms. Morgenthau. Would you vote for or against the reproductive freedom for all
This issue
act?
is deeply personal. It's personal to me. I am the mother of 3 children. I have juggled work and family, worrying about what I'm getting in the kids' lunch boxes, and then making sure that I am also have my eyes on the biggest national security issues when I was in the Obama administration working at Homeland Security. I am the mother of 3 children, and I think today that my daughter has less rights than I did when I was her age, and I shudder to think about that. And this is why I think that we have an opportunity to send the first Democratic woman to Congress from Rhode Island. We need a fresh perspective. We need a woman's perspective. We need a mother's perspective, and we need a lawyer's perspective, which I also have.
And so would you vote for or against, if you were that first Democratic woman, the Reproductive Freedom for All Act?
I would absolutely vote for it.
Mr. Siegel, finally for you, would you vote for or against that bill if it came up?
So this is an issue I've been working on for 15 plus years. I was one of a handful of people who were co-sponsors of Roe codification back when I served in the General Assembly. There were 4 or 5 of us on these bills back then. And I would do what I did then. I would follow the lead of groups like Planned Parenthood and understand their analysis of the politics of the moment and figure out if we can push further or not. I think that we need to take measures to push back against the Supreme Court, which is unhinged and is the way it is because of a bargain cut between reactionary right-wing social forces and big business over the course of recent years. One way that we can do that is to codify protections that it seems like they might be on the verge of stripping away, and protecting choice is one such measure we need to take, along with contraception, along with LGBTQ rights, and otherwise. And when making a final decision on something like this, I would do what I've always done, which is look to the groups that are at the forefront of these issues.
If the choice groups didn't want a bill like this because they want something that goes further, would you help to kill this bill if that came up?
I would stand with the choice groups.
All right, candidates, now we're going to do our rapid fire section of the debate where we want to get through a handful of topics quickly. I am looking for 1 or 2 word answers on all of these questions. I'm going to start left to right, and then I'm going to change up the order. Ms. Fox, we'll start with you. Would you support or oppose a federal ban on what have been labeled assault-style rifles like the AR-15? Support or oppose?
I would support a ban.
Mr. Magaziner?
Absolutely support.
Ms. Morgenthau?
I would support it.
And Mr. Siegel?
I would support it.
Mr. Magaziner, would you support or oppose term limits for Supreme Court justices?
Most likely support.
Most likely support. How long?
I'd have to confer with the experts on that, but I think that because the Supreme Court has been hijacked by these extremists, we have to look at reforms like term limits.
All right, Ms. Morgenthau, support or oppose term limits for Supreme Court justices?
The Supreme Court has gotten over-politicized, and I think
I'm sure you all agree on that. Support or oppose term limits?
Oppose.
And Mr. Siegel, support or oppose term limits?
Support Supreme Court term limits.
And Ms. Fox?
Support.
Ms. Morgenthau, support or oppose term limits for U.S. representatives?
I think elections are term limits.
Okay, Mr. Siegel?
I agree. It's not my preferred approach, and the reason that people have been concerned about this is it affords too much power to the lobbyists. And
you oppose term limits for U.S. representatives. Ms. Fox, support or oppose term limits?
Ultimately up to the voter, but support.
Support. How long?
We need to get in there and figure it out.
All
yes.
right, and Mr. Magaziner, support or oppose term limits for U.S. reps?
Support. I don't think that politics should be a lifelong profession.
Mr. Siegel, and how long for term limits now that?
Probably 4 or 5.
4 or 5 terms?
Terms.
Okay. Mr. Siegel, support or oppose legislation that would legalize recreational marijuana at the federal level?
I support it, just as I've helped to move that issue forward here.
All right, Ms. Fox?
Support.
Mr. Magaziner?
Support.
Ms. Morgenthau?
I support.
And this issue came up, Ms. Fox, for Congressman Langevin. Would you support a ban on stock trading for members of Congress?
Yes, I would support a ban.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yeah, absolutely.
Ms. Morgenthau?
I would support that, yes.
Mr. Siegel?
Absolutely.
Agreement on that. And final question of rapid fire, and we'll start with you, Mr. Magaziner. Availability of free at-home COVID tests is ending this Friday because Congress did not continue to fund the program. Do you think Congress should authorize more money for free at-home testing, or is it the right time to wind it down?
I think COVID's still with us, and while the president's done a great job leading us to this point, we should continue free testing.
Ms. Morgenthau?
I think we need to. You know, I've been visiting senior centers across the district, and I know that there are many who cannot get out of their homes, and so being able to have that at home is a good thing, and I would
Mr.
support
Siegel?
it.
We should continue it as part of a program to provide free healthcare to everybody.
And Ms. Fox?
I support it.
Okay.
All right, I want to ask each of you about some of the criticism you've faced in this campaign. And Ms. Fox, I'm going to start with you on this. Your campaign has begun critiquing Mr. Magaziner, comparing him to a frog, leaping from lily pad to lily pad because he switched from running for governor to running for Congress. But your former boss, Congressman Langevin, doesn't see it that way. He says Mr. Magaziner is the best choice as his successor. Why should voters back you if your own former boss, who you're looking to replace, doesn't think you're the best option?
Because I have deep roots in this district, which give me a deep understanding of the challenges that we all face, and I've spent my career working to make a difference in this district. It is no secret that one of the bigger issues, one of the bigger political issues in the general election here will be where we all live. And I take that right off the table. I will put my hometown girl up against Alan Fung's hometown boy all day long. I have also worked in both the governor's office and Capitol Hill and Congress, so I bring that experience to the table. And I'm the only one up here that can say that she's been part of a team that has beaten Alan Fung twice, and I know that we can do it again, and I'm pretty sure he does too.
Mr. Magaziner, as I said, Ms. Fox is comparing you to a leapfrog, and she's told voters you are, quote, just looking for a job. And many have noted you still don't own a permanent residence in the 2nd Congressional District. How do you respond to this criticism that you're an opportunist?
Yeah, well, listen, I've spent the last 8 years working in every community across the 2nd Congressional District with people to solve problems. You know, I advocated in Burrillville with nurses and families to keep the Zambrano Hospital open. My school construction program that I launched is building new elementary schools in Cranston and Johnson. I've worked in Westerly on flood mitigation and rising sea levels. So I can be an effective member of Congress for the district because more than any other candidate in either party in this race, I've spent deep time in every community across District 2 working with people to solve problems. And what I've shown in my time as state treasurer is that I know how to cut through the nonsense, get things done, and deliver results. And I look forward to bringing those same values and that same approach to Washington.
Ms. Fox, he just name-checked quite a few CD2 towns, so he doesn't sound concerned about it.
Yeah, I bring the same experience. I may not have been elected, but I worked for a congressman and a governor who both turned to me to get the job done. And I've worked there more than just 8 years. I started as a Cranston Herald newspaper reporter. I worked at the Department of Corrections. I worked for Congressman Langevin and Gina Raimondo, and I run a small business now. So I think I bring more than enough experience here. And it should also be noted that, you know, this is about having deep roots in a community and a deep understanding of it, and I bring that to the table.
Ms. Morgenthau, I want to bring you into this. Your TV advertisements say, and you've said tonight, it's time for Rhode Island to elect a Democratic woman to Congress for the first time. Former Lieutenant Governor Elizabeth Roberts and gubernatorial nominee Murth York say they agree, but they say that woman is Ms. Fox, not you. Which prominent elected Democratic women in Rhode Island, past or present, are supporting your candidacy?
Kate Coyne-McCoy is supporting my candidacy, and
has Kate held elected office?
Oh, about state elected office?
Current or former elected officials who are women and Democrats in Rhode Island.
You know, I have been going from community to community and meeting the voters who are excited about having a fresh perspective, not a career politician, somebody who can go to Washington and get things done because she has the experience and a proven track record of getting things done. I have served 2 presidents. I have worked at Homeland Security, making our communities safe, working on cybersecurity, working on counterterrorism, working on natural disasters, something that our ocean state knows well. I restarted travel and tourism for the United States of America during the pandemic. This is about $7 billion coming into our economy. We have a little over 1 million people. That's a heck of a lot of jobs and economic benefits. And I have the global perspective from working at the Peace Corps in over 50 countries.
But what
and
does
so
it
when
say
I go,
that you're saying how important it is to elect a Democratic woman for Congress, yet the Democratic women who have already gotten elected in Rhode Island are not with you?
I don't think that's true. And as I said, when I'm going from community to community, from town to town, from Burrillville to Gloucester to Block Island, to Wakefield to Westerly, to Johnston to Cranston to Warwick, the excitement about meeting me with a fresh perspective. You know, I think women now, it's not just about the Roe v. Wade decision being overturned, which I think has changed all of our lives, but it's about when I look into the eyes of a woman, and in 10 seconds, we know what we mean by having a woman's perspective in Washington for the first time.
Can I just, on this point real quick,
Briefly,
I want to point out that in addition to Congressman Langevin support, which I'm grateful to have, our campaign is supported by the National Organization for Women and by prominent women elected officials in Rhode Island who are real leaders on these issues. The lead sponsor of the Reproductive Privacy Act, Anastasia Williams, the lead sponsor of the Equal Access and Abortion Coverage Act, Bridget Valverde, and others. And the reason that they're supporting our campaign is because they've seen that I show up. That when we have been fighting for these bills to codify Roe v. Wade in Rhode Island, to pass common sense gun safety legislation, I put the weight of our office, the Treasurer's office, behind those bills. I testified, I lobbied. We earned that support because they've seen that I've shown up in a way that others in Rhode Island haven't.
I want to bring Mr. Siegel into this. Mr. Siegel, you know the conventional wisdom that this district is trending more conservative. You have always been unapologetically progressive, often one of the most progressive members of the legislatures you served in. What do you say to Democrats who might like some of what you say, but say, I don't know that we can keep this seat blue if we put Dave Siegel as a nominee?
So, thank you for the question. So I'm very proud of a long record of standing up for progressive values and looking for opportunities to work with people who might not agree with me on every single issue. And that goes back to before my time in the legislature. But to name a couple of examples, I served during the financial crisis when there were cuts being made to cities and towns across the state. And I brought together my colleagues, including traditional Democrats, and even some Republicans were on the mix on this, to try to blunt cuts. We succeeded to the order of at least tens of millions of dollars that were going to be imposed on cities and towns throughout the state and in District 2. And at the national level, I've been a leader on issues like reviving the anti-monopoly movement, where there's left and right cross-partisan alignment, and where we've been able to make progress by ensuring that we get new regulators in place who are actually willing to contest the power of the corporations that have too much control over our economy and too much control over our government. And voters across the political spectrum agree with me on that issue, on the need to impose a wealth tax on the very wealthy, and on a variety of other issues that my campaign is predicated on.
If I can go back for 1 second, I mean, piles of fancy endorsements are great, but the fact is that this race still has at least upwards of 37% undecided. And you haven't been able to break into 40. So what I'm concerned about is being able to keep this seat blue. I'm the only one on this stage that has been part of a team that has beaten Alan Funk twice. And the endorsement that I'm looking for is on a primary day, September 13th, from the voters of the 2nd Congressional District. And I am focused on talking to them every day about the challenges that we face together as a community and how we can do good things together for the state of Rhode Island.
Yeah, listen, I'm the only candidate in the race who's won an election anywhere in the 2nd Congressional District in this primary. We won the 2nd Congressional District in both of my races for state treasurer, last time with more than 60% of the vote. And the reason that the National Organization for Women and all these other groups are endorsing me is because they've seen that I show up and I produce results. I'll do that in Washington just as I've done it in Rhode Island.
I want to give you 15 seconds, and we do have to move on. Ms. Morgenthau and then Mr. Siegel.
I just want to say that I am the mother of 3 children, and I am seeing here, watching this fighting. The voters are hurting right now. We have very serious issues that we're facing. Everything costs too damn much. We need to have somebody who's experienced, who on day one can go to Washington and deliver the results that we need for people here in Rhode Island who are hurting and who are looking for somebody to lead.
Final word goes to Mr.
And to
Siegel.
fight for them.
I don't want to belabor it, but I did represent parts of District 2 and live in it during my time in the Assembly. But moreover, just to your question earlier, even the DCCC is now acknowledging that pushing back against corporate power as a framework, as a way of representing democratic values, is one of the most successful ways that we can push back and beat Republicans in tight general elections this fall.
Tim.
All right, candidates, well, to quote Ms. Morgenthau, everything costs too damn much. People at home are feeling the crushing weight of inflation, increasing the cost from everything from groceries to gas and more. Look, many economists think the American Rescue Plan Act, which among other things provided another round of stimulus checks, spent too much money and worsened inflation. Critics include a man I've already quoted in this debate, Obama financial advisor Jason Furman, who point to other countries who had less generous relief packages and lower inflation. Mr. Siegel, in retrospect, do you agree with Mr. Furman that the bill was too big or not?
I very much disagree with him. And he cites certain countries where there might be lower inflation than there is here. I know of many countries where there has been very high inflation and that have not seen the recovery that we saw. I mean, it's been an extraordinary phenomenon, especially as somebody who served in the assembly during the fiscal crisis, when it's having to push back against cuts to cities and towns because the federal government failed to step in and do what it needed to do to support people and their livelihoods the way that it did this time around. And so I think the stimulus made a lot of sense, and I think we need to take other measures to push back against inflation, like going at price gouging, like imposing an excess profit tax and returning the proceeds to people to help them through the inflationary crisis, like breaking up big corporations that we've afforded pricing power over the course of recent decades as we've allowed them to monopolize various industries, and of course accelerating the transition to renewable energy so we never have to deal with gas price-based inflation again.
Where have you seen evidence of price gouging?
And I mean, look at the oil markets. I mean, we see prices, and I point people towards studies done by the Groundwork Collaborative. They listen in on meetings between corporate executives and their shareholders that are required as part of SEC compliance, and people are bragging about the fact that they've been able to use inflation to mask price increases. It's an extraordinary problem, and we need government to act to fix it.
Ms. Morgenthau, what do you feel on this? In retrospect, do you agree with Mr. Furman that the bill was just too big, and there's a lot of money sloshing around in the country, or was it just right?
No, Tim, I don't. When I have been going from community to community, I am hearing from seniors, I am hearing from veterans who are living on fixed income that things cost too much. And I think that President Biden passed some very necessary legislation and signed into bill during some difficult times during the pandemic. I am pleased that we had the Infrastructure Act. I am pleased that we passed the CHIPS Semiconductor Act. I am pleased that we passed the Inflation Reduction Act. I think those were really important stimuluses that we needed to get ourselves out of hard times.
But ARPA specifically, you named a bunch of other acts. So I understand you correctly, you say that that was the right amount of money. Do you have any concern that it hurt people at home because the costs have gone up for products because of inflation?
No, I think that people were hurting. Things were, people were out of work. They were losing loved ones. People were sick, and they needed to get a hand. They needed, businesses were falling apart, and so we needed that stimulus. And frankly, it was that stimulus that kept our economy going.
Mr. Magaziner.
Yeah, listen, I was in Coventry the other day, and I met a young woman who makes $13 an hour working at a Tractor Supply company in Johnston, and she's skipping meals because she can't keep up with the cost of living. It's a moral outrage, and working people like her do not have too much money in their pockets, whatever the people on the right want us to think. Where there is too much money sloshing around in the system is when there are billionaires shooting rockets into space paying a lower tax rate than working people. That's wrong. But here's the point. There are things that Congress can and must do to help lower the cost of living and lower inflation. So we absolutely need to go after price gouging. The big oil companies, the big oil producers have made $100 million in profits this year, not revenue, profits, at a time when Rhode Islanders are paying $4 or $5 a gallon for gas. That is wrong. It is morally wrong. I'm in favor of temporarily suspending the gas tax until prices come back down. And we need to do more to tackle the cost of health care and food as well. I have plans for all of that. But we have to keep focused on the right thing here, which is that working people are struggling. They do not have too much money in their pockets. They're not earning enough, and they're not keeping up with the cost
So
of
that
living.
woman in Coventry, you were okay with the size of ARPA?
She needs our help, just like working people all across the state do. And that's why in Congress I'm going to prioritize lowering the cost of energy, lowering the cost of health care, lowering the cost of food, and raising wages, the same things that I fought for here as state treasurer in Rhode Island.
Ms. Fox?
It's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback on something like this. So yes, I think it was the right size, especially when you go back to what we were facing at the time, COVID, people out of work, et cetera. The fact of the matter is, regardless of inflation, recession, pandemic, this economy will be in transition for a very long time. So how are we going to help Rhode Islanders who want to live and work here be able to afford that, because the cost of living is too high? I've had many conversations with friends who have gotten very crafty with their Stop and Shop gas points, for example, among other things. So there's things that we need to do, short-term and long-term. Short-term, there were things that worked during the pandemic, like the child tax credit, universal free lunch in school, which I think is ending this week. That's something we could continue right now to help working families. We could also, once and for all, make paid leave permanent, something that we need to do. And the other thing that I hear time and again when I'm out is workforce development. We started this conversation talking about education. Education is key to our economic success here, and we need to make sure that job training opportunities are ready and there for people to take advantage of as this and to participate in this economy that will be in transition for a very long time.
Ted? I want to ask all of you about your party's leadership in Washington. The top Democrat in the House, Speaker Nancy Pelosi, is 82 years old. The number 2 House Democrat, Steny Hoyer, is 83. The number 3 House Democrat, Jim Clyburn, is 82. And the latest reporting is that all three may try to hold on to their leadership posts after the November election, potentially even if Democrats lose the House. Mr. Magaziner, if you were elected to the House, would you support or oppose Nancy Pelosi having another term leading House Democrats?
Yeah, I would. Listen, first of all, I'm excited to be part of a younger generation coming into Congress. I do think that we need more generational diversity in our government.
What about leadership?
That being said, I have tremendous respect for Nancy Pelosi. She passed the Affordable Care Act over Republican opposition, including Alan Fung. She passed the Inflation Reduction Act. She passed the CHIPS Act. And if she decides to seek the speakership again, she will have my support.
So you'll go down and vote for 3 octogenarians to lead the Democratic Party into the 2020s further?
Yeah, look, the leadership team that's there has just had a great run. And just in the last month and a half, they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, the CHIPS Act, expanded health care benefits for veterans. They've been effective, so they would have my support.
Mr. Siegel, same question. If Speaker Pelosi seeks another term leading House Democrats, would you support or oppose?
I would likely support her. I, of course, do think that generational change is important over time. And I also think that ideological change is important. And one thing that I've been very heartened by over the course of recent years, and I might say that this started around when Bernie ran for office, is that big ideas have taken hold in the Democratic Party that were not within the realm of what was acceptable to debate even 7 or 8 years ago. And I think that as long as leaders are responding to the needs of people on the ground, which I think we see increasingly over the course of the last couple of weeks through the Inflation Reduction Act and student debt relief, it makes sense to support them in doing so. And I've been very heartened to see these new ideas take hold across the party, including with people who used to disagree with me on some of these issues.
Ms. Fox, another term for Nancy Pelosi. Would you support it?
Yes, I would support her, and I would be proud to be Rhode Island's first Democratic woman elected to Congress to serve from Rhode Island.
And Ms. Morgenthau, same question. Would you support Speaker Pelosi for another term?
Yes, I would. I think Speaker Pelosi has done a really good job in really difficult times. I think that we needed the steady hand of experience and the leadership that she did. And we've just had a great run in Congress, which I think is terrific. And I'm pleased about, her trip to Taiwan. I think that's another important testament to her ability to really see things on the global and the national stage.
Before we move on, a quick follow-up, and I'll stick with you, Ms. Morgenthau, on this. We've seen a lot of mixed opinions on this in the Democratic Party. President Biden will turn 82 in 2024. Do you think he should seek re-election or step aside?
I think he could seek re-election, and as you know, Ted, I think I was the only one who said that publicly when asked a short while ago.
Mr. Siegel, President Biden run for re-election?
I think, as with most Democrats, I think that we need to see. I think most people in the party agree on this point. I think that the more that we're able to demonstrate that we care about where people are coming from and what they're going through right now, as with the Inflation Reduction Act, as with the student debt relief.
Do you think President Biden should run again?
I think that, like I said, I think most Democrats agree that it's a little bit too soon to say. We need to get through these midterms, but it bodes well for us if we're actually responding to the needs of everyday people, which it seems like we're increasingly poised to do. And a party that continues to do that.
Ms. Fox, another term for President Biden?
Well, Ted, I'd like to ask what you have against people in their 80s.
I should say my grandmother is watching, and she's 95, but she knows I love her. So I've just.
I think if President Biden,
as we're talking about here, and I should say, because I don't want our older viewers to think that this is just picking on it, but we are talking about every leader of the Democratic Party we've mentioned so far in this segment is in their 80s now, and none of you are in your 80s unless you've lied to us about your ages. So that's why this has come up. We had a poll: 40% of Democratic primary voters in Rhode Island were the only share that wanted President Biden to run again.
Yeah, I think if he would like to run again and he's our nominee, I will support him.
Mr. Magaziner?
Yeah, so whether he runs again or not is obviously his decision, but he's been on a great run lately. In addition to the CHIPS Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, expanding healthcare access for veterans, he also just took out the top leader of Al-Qaeda. And so he's been on a roll lately. And if he chooses to run again, I think he'll earn the support of most Americans.
Candidates, since we're talking about presidential elections, I want to point out the Democrats have won the popular vote for president in 5 of the 6 elections in this century, but have only won the White House 3 times. That, of course, is because of the Electoral College. Ms. Fox, do you think that is still the right way for America to choose presidents, or is it time to abolish the Electoral College?
I think it's time to examine how we could go about abolishing the Electoral College, yes.
And what do you say to the people in this country that make the argument that they don't want the urban areas of this country to elect their president?
I think it has to go to the popular vote and let all people decide. That's why every vote matters, and that's why we need to pass things like the John Lewis Voting Rights Act to make sure that everyone has free and fair access to the vote.
Ms. Morgenthau, is Ms. Fox right? Do you agree with her?
You know, I think being able to exercise your right to vote is the most important thing that we give here in this great country. And I think that we have seen in recent years, especially in 2016 and in 2020, how elections can get pretty messed up. And so I think we need to make sure that we are doing it in the right way and examine the Electoral College, and examine which states are the early states in voting. And I know that we have been looking at that. And ultimately, it should be the voters, the people of the country who decide who goes to the White House.
But if I hear you right, you are open to abolishing the Electoral College. Is that correct? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
I'm open to looking at it, Tim. Okay. I think that, you know, I have always said that I think we need to put all options on the table. It's how I've done things when I have been in Washington, bringing Republicans, Democrats, people from across the aisle, different views so that we can make decisions. And I think in this case, we've had some problems recently with our elections, and so we need to put it on the table and take a look at it.
All right, Mr. Siegel, stay the course or get rid of it?
These are issues I've worked on for literally 20 years now, including, among other things, as an advocate for the National Popular Vote Group, which supports an interstate compact, one particular mechanism by which we can not eliminate the Electoral College, but ensure that the popular vote is what rules the day. And I would also support eliminating the Electoral College and having a direct popular vote. And I've testified before Congress on matters of voting reform. I was a co-signer of a bipartisan lawmakers anti-political gerrymandering brief to the Supreme Court. I think we need a number of different reforms to our system, and of course one must speak to the influence of money over our political system, and Electoral College reform is one of them.
All right, Mr. Magaziner.
Everyone's vote should count the same regardless of what state they live in or whether they live in an urban, rural, or suburban community. So we should get rid of the Electoral College as one of the many steps to restoring our democracy. We need to protect voting rights, and we need to push back against this trend of Trumpism that seeks to delegitimize and undermine elections, call results fake just because the candidates that they wanted to win weren't successful. That's what's at stake in this election. I want my 10-month-old son, Max, to grow up in a democracy. And if the far right and the Trump crew take control of Congress, that is at risk. We cannot allow that to happen.
Since we're discussing potential fundamental changes to the federal government, Mr. Magaziner, I'll stick with you on this one. Congressman David Cicilline has called on expanding the number of justices on the U.S. Supreme Court from 9 to 13. Critics, as you know, label that court packing. Do you support or oppose expansion of the U.S. Supreme Court?
The Supreme Court has been hijacked by extremists who are turning back the clock on rights, on women's rights, on LGBT rights, on privacy rights. We're living in a dangerous time. I have not been convinced that expanding the number of justices would solve the problem, because if a Democratic president appointed some more justices now, there'd be nothing to stop a Republican president from appointing more Republican, conservative, far-right justices later. But I do think that term limits for justices is something that we should look at that could be a more meaningful reform.
Mr. Siegel.
I agree. The court has been hijacked by, again, a nexus of reactionary right-wing forces on social issues working in tandem with big business. And this is a strategy that they've implemented wildly successfully over the course of the last several decades. I think we need a variety of court reforms. And like I said earlier, I support term limits for justices. I'm inclined to support expanding the Supreme Court as part of a suite of reforms that can make it such that it's more likely to uphold fundamental rights and not just do the bidding of big businesses. And in the end, part of what was just said is accurate. Like, there is a chance that these reforms will not hold if we fail to win elections. And the way that we're going to win elections is by putting up candidates who care about everyday people and are willing to push back against the corporate special interests and political corruption that rule the day in Washington.
Ms. Morgenthau?
You know, I believe I'm the only lawyer on this stage, and I have said from the beginning that the Supreme Court process has gotten overly politicized. We saw that during the Trump years when he put people in, which now has resulted in Roe v. Wade being overturned. But what I have said from the beginning, and I believe the Treasurer has just changed his mind on it, is that we should not take the step now of putting in additional members into the court. As you know, we have 9. President Roosevelt tried that unsuccessfully, and I do believe that if we allow the Biden administration to put in Supreme Court justices, additional ones today, that then when we have another Republican administration, that they will do the same thing. Instead, what I think is important is that we send the right woman, the first woman from Rhode Island, to Congress to make sure that we have that perspective, that women's perspective, that lawyer's perspective, that fresh perspective, and not a career politician.
Ms. Fox?
Democracy is under threat here. There's no question about it. The faith and trust in the system is shaken, and we need to do better to restore it. Part of that is looking at how the Supreme Court operates. And yes, I do think we need to examine what it would look like to add more justices. And I also think we need to look at term limits. So I do believe that there's a suite of things, and I will go back to the strongest thing that we have in our country is the vote. And to me, the most important thing that we can do here is to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and also H.R. 1, the Disclose Act, to get money out of politics.
I owe you a little time here anyway, Ms. Fox, so a follow-up question to you, since you're open to the idea of expanding the U.S. Supreme Court. Any concerns at all that that would only further politicize the court
Sure.
by doing so? By some will think it's rigging the game?
And this is why we need to have a thoughtful examination of it and to look at all options that we have. And that's why term limits may be the better way to go. But I think there is something that we need to do to restore faith in democracy, including our judicial system. And this is one way to do it. We need to start having these conversations on these institutions that maybe have outlived their useful life in terms of how our world is today.
Congressman Langevin, who all of you are seeking to replace, was one of President Biden's most vocal critics among Democrats last year during the withdrawal from Afghanistan. Congressman Langevin called the pullout, quote, a catastrophe, and Langevin said the U.S. should have kept 2,500 troops and personnel in Afghanistan rather than exited entirely. Ms. Morgenthau, was Langevin right or wrong?
Well, first of all, I want to thank the men and women in our armed services who have put their lives at risk. My father served in World War II in the 2nd Cavalry under General Patton, and I know how serious it is to be out there, and I just want to thank them from the service, from the bottom of my heart, for doing what it is that they're doing. Look, this was a very difficult situation. I think it was an important thing that we had, the president had made a promise to do it, and he exercised on that promise. I agree that there were some things that could have done better, but I think ultimately it was the right decision.
And so you disagree with Congressman Langevin that you should have kept that base of troops there that he wanted?
I think that the president made the right decision, and yes, it sounds like I would disagree with Congressman Langevin.
Mr. Magaziner, same question. Do you agree it was a catastrophe, as Congressman Langevin said, and the U.S. should have kept 2,500 troops there?
Well, my first message to all of the Rhode Islanders who served in Afghanistan and Iraq is that the work that you did over there mattered. You saved lives, you served the interests of our country, and we're proud of you, and we thank you for it. We could not stay in Afghanistan forever. I think everybody understands that, including all of the service members, members of the Rhode Island National Guard, and others who I've spoken to about it. Clearly, the withdrawal was not executed well, and part of that was because of faulty intelligence on the ground. Nobody expected the Taliban to take control of so much territory so quickly. That being said, what's done is done. It was the right thing to get out. The execution was not what it should have been. We have to look forward and focus on threats all across the world, including in Afghanistan, where, once again, we just took out the leader of al-Qaeda, which is a good thing that we should all be very happy about.
Mr. Siegel, same question. Congressman Langevin, right or wrong on Afghanistan?
So I, of course, would also thank veterans for their service in Afghanistan and Iraq and otherwise. I'm proud to have been endorsed last week by a group of progressive veterans from across the country, but a group that was partially founded by Rhode Islanders called Common Defense, that supported the withdrawal and encouraged it to happen even sooner than it did. So I think the president made the right decision here. And I've been proud of efforts that I've been a part of over the course of recent years to help push for an end to the forever wars in Afghanistan and otherwise, and to elevate Congress's use of its constitutional authority to declare when we do and do not go to war that too often has been subverted and helped lead us into disastrous conflicts.
Ms. Fox, same question. Is Congressman Langevin right or wrong about keeping troops in Afghanistan?
I also would like to echo my colleagues up here tonight. Thank you for everyone who has served overseas, particularly in Afghanistan. We owe you a debt of tremendous gratitude. Again, it's easy to be a Monday morning quarterback on these things. Obviously, the withdrawal from Afghanistan did not go well, but now we need to look forward. It is right to be out of our forever wars, and I think, as a member of Congress, knowing that democracy is under threat around the world, that we should prioritize diplomacy, we should be continuing to support our allies, and we should make sure that we have a strong national defense. For me personally, too, my bar would be very, very high for any kind of action deploying our troops. My youngest brother, Tim, is a Navy veteran, and there were many days that we had no idea where he was. We knew about where he was, and we are grateful for his service and his bravery, but I also know the tremendous stress that it left back here on his mom and dad and brothers and sisters. So as I lead in Congress on these issues, that will be my bar, knowing that these are young men and women who are going off to serve.
Tim?
I want to talk about policing. Mr. Magaziner, lawmakers have previously considered a bill that would remove the protections for police officers from civil suits known as qualified immunity. Opponents of qualified immunity say it shields police officers who behave badly, but supporters say getting rid of it would have a chilling effect on officers who have to make split-second decisions. Would you vote for or against a bill that eliminates qualified immunity for police officers?
Well, first of all, police officers play a very important role in our communities, keeping our communities safe. And I support community policing that builds stronger bridges between the police and the communities that they serve. That being said, I believe that anyone in a position of power should be held accountable if they abuse that power. And to be clear, we're not talking about everyone, we're talking about the few bad apples who abuse their power for one reason or another. That's just as true in policing as it is in any other walk of life. Those who are in a position of authority, if they abuse that authority, should be held accountable. And so I do think that we need to look at reforming qualified immunity. And I also think that that same principle applies to everyone, including former presidents who break the law and act like they're above the law. We need to have community policing, and we need to have accountability for those who abuse their power.
So open to eliminating qualified immunity for police officers?
I'm open to discussing reforms because I do think that if someone abuses
I'm not
their
asking
power
about.
in any role,
I'm asking about a specific reform, qualified immunity.
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yeah, open to reforms.
Ms. Morgenthau?
You know, I worked at the Department of Homeland Security. I worked closely with law enforcement. I worked with our Customs and Border Patrol. I worked with our TSA men and women. I worked with local and state law enforcement. We were working on figuring out ways to combat domestic terrorism. And I know how difficult it is for law enforcement to always know what is going on. We need to support law enforcement, but at the same time, we need to make sure that we are investing in mental health, in social services, in faith-based organizations, so that we have eyes and ears on the ground in our communities to make sure that our young people are not getting radicalized. So I think that we need to support our law enforcement. I know many well, have worked with them very closely. I saw a report recently that was talking about the importance of trying to have more women in the police, because then maybe everybody would behave a little bit better. And so I think that we need to constantly be looking at reforms, but at the same time, we need to give our law enforcement and our police
But as a congressperson, you would have to vote for or against a bill. Would you vote for or against a bill that would eliminate qualified immunity?
I don't think I would vote against it at this time.
So you would vote for it?
Yes.
Mr. Siegel?
I'm proud over the course of my time in office and even before office to have been part of efforts to institute appropriate oversight of the police department in Providence during the end of the Cianci era, for instance. That's part of what spurred me to run for office back in 2002 and join the city council in Providence. And I'm proud to have supported community policing initiatives in my district at the time and across the city. And I think we need to look towards similar reforms to be encouraged at the federal level, including, for instance, seeking to have COPS funding, which is DOJ's community policing program, be tied to appropriate civilian oversight. And I would support the legislation you've named to lift qualified immunity.
Ms. Fox?
I think we need to do all we can to work together to make our communities safer. And that means supporting efforts like community policing. And we need to make sure that we're balancing when police officers are not following their own rules against the protections in our community. I have loved ones who are police officers as well, and I know how you have to make decisions in a split second. So we need to figure out ways to make sure that our communities are safer and our police are able to do the job at hand.
As I said to Ms. Morgenthau, though, you'd have to vote for or against a bill if it came, to your desk.
I'm open to studying it and understanding it more.
All
right, candidates, we're running very short on time, believe it or not. So I'm going to give you a simple question, and I'd ask you to just keep your answers somewhat brief. Much of the real work in Congress, you all know, is done in committees. So if you are lucky enough to be elected to Congress, I'm curious, and I'll start with you, Ms. Fox. What committee do you most want to serve on, and why?
Energy and Commerce.
Why?
Because it touches just about everything in our economy and everything that would make Rhode Island a stronger place for families to live and work.
Okay, Mr. Magaziner, what committee?
I'm also interested in energy and commerce because it would give me an opportunity to work on bringing more manufacturing back to our state and supporting a transition to affordable, clean energy like offshore wind.
Ms. Morgenthau?
Look, the most important committee that you can be on is appropriation, because it's about bringing money back to our state here. I would also like to do Homeland Security because I've got experience working there.
Oh, you snuck in two on me, Ms. Morgenthau. But that's all right.
And travel and tourism, Chad, is another one, which is a subcommittee of energy and commerce.
They're not going to give you this many committees. Mr. Siegel, how many committees?
I was going to say the same thing. I mean, of course, appropriations is where you want to be, but that's probably not going to happen for most first-term members of Congress. I've had the opportunity to work with many of these committees over the years, and the Judiciary Committee has a lot of discretion over much of what we've talked about today, including the courts, of course, and also over corporate power. It's where David Cicilline is helping to forward his efforts to revive the antitrust movement through legislative measures, and I'd like to serve on Judiciary.
All right, we have 40 seconds before we get to closing, so real quick, Ms. Morgenthau, where's the best place to get an ice cream in the 2nd Congressional District?
Brickley's.
Mr. Siegel?
Tricycle 2 blocks from my house.
Mr. Magaziner?
Brickley's.
You stole her answer. Ms. Fox?
The vanilla bean.
All right, vanilla bean. All right. As I said, each candidate now has an opportunity to give a 1-minute closing statement, the order of which was drawn randomly prior to this debate. Up first, Mr. Magaziner, your 60-second closing remarks.
I'm in this race because I want my 10-month-old son and all children to grow up in a world that is safe, fair, sustainable, and full of opportunity. In Congress, I will fight to bring Rhode Island values to Washington. I will fight to lower the cost of health care, to protect Social Security and Medicare and the Affordable Care Act. I will fight to bring back manufacturing jobs and clean energy jobs to Rhode Island. I will fight to defend a woman's right to make her own health care decisions free of political interference. And I will fight to protect our democracy against Donald Trump and the far-right followers that seek to undermine our elections. As your treasurer for the last 8 years, I have worked hard to raise wages, lower health care costs, build schools, pass the Reproductive Privacy Act to protect Roe versus Wade in Rhode Island, and I'm going to bring that same approach to Washington. I ask all of you to join Congressman Langevin, the National Organization for Women, and so many others supporting our campaign by going to SethMagaziner.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Magaziner. Up next, Ms. Morgenthau, your 60-second closing remarks.
Thank you to the viewers for tuning in tonight. 3 things. I am the strongest candidate to beat Alan Fung in November. We cannot afford to lose this seat to a Republican. I have the experience to get things done on day one. I have worked for 2 presidents, Obama and Biden. I have been at Homeland Security, keeping our communities safe. I've worked on counterterrorism, domestic terrorism, cybersecurity, and natural disasters, something our ocean state knows well. I reopened travel and tourism for the United States of America, which is about $7 billion coming into our economy in Rhode Island. We're just over 1 million people. That's a heck of a lot of jobs and a heck of a lot of benefits. I would be honored to be your first Democratic woman in Congress in Washington. We don't need to have career politicians. We need a fresh perspective. We need a woman's perspective, a mother's perspective, a lawyer's perspective. Things are really difficult. We need to stop the fighting. We need to stop the noise. We need to roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Thank you, Ms. Morgenthau.
I would be grateful for your support
up.
On September 13th.
And
thank you.
Now we move to Mr. Siegel, your 60-second closing remarks.
It's been great to have the opportunity to address the voters about the issues of the day and about those areas where there are agreements between us, and also importantly about those areas where there are disagreements between us. And core to what is at stake in this race is addressing why it's so hard to make progress on the issues of the day. And we all know what's going on. Washington, D.C. is plagued by the influence of corporate special interests and political corruption. We all know this, and we need to fix it. And over the course of the last 20 years, at the local level and at the state level and the national level, I've learned how to build coalitions that are broad enough and powerful enough to overcome those interests and deliver wins for everyday people. And if we don't address those systems, we can have proposals that we talk about on stages like this one, but none of it matters. None of it's going to happen until we fix those systems, no matter what's said on a stage like this. And I'm running for Congress because I want to fix those systems and give our voices more of a priority in what's happening in D.C.
Thank you, Mr. Siegel. Now, Ms. Fox, your 60-second closing remarks.
Thank you. Thank you for having us tonight, and thank you all for tuning in. These are challenging times, and so many of us are struggling, and often I'm asked, what can we do to make Washington work? To make Washington work, we have to change who we send there, and that is the difference in this race. I grew up here, and I worked here my entire life to make a difference for this district. I didn't just move here, and I don't just summer here. I worked for the Cranston Herald, I worked for Congressman Landrieu and Gina Raimondo, and now I run a small business here. We also need to elect the first Democratic woman to Congress from Rhode Island, a woman that is from here. And I also know that we need to keep this seat blue. I am the only one on this stage that has been part of a team that has beaten Alan Fung twice. I know we can do it again, and I'm pretty sure he does too. So on September 13th, I ask for your vote. And remember, don't lose hope, and send joy to Congress.
All right, thank you, Ms. Fox, and thank you to all the candidates for joining us for this debate. It's a critically important debate, and we appreciate you taking part in it. And thank you at home for watching over the last 60 minutes, happening in just a few minutes on WPRI.com. Our post-debate digital show will kick off, where each campaign will enter our spin room. Then we'll have complete debate coverage on WPRI.com tonight on 12 News at 10 and 11. I will be joined by 12 News political analyst Joe Fleming. And next week, live from Rhode Island College, a debate in the Democratic primary for governor. That is next Tuesday, live and commercial-free at 8 p.m. on Channel 12. We hope you join us then. I want to thank you again for watching us, and thank you to the candidates for taking part in this debate. For Ted Nesi, I'm Tim White. Have a good night.